Hello, everyone, and this is Jeff Watson, and this is Movies to Be Murdered By. Really got a special episode this week. Got some things that we'd like, that I want to talk about, and I almost gave it away right there from the beginning. But got a few things, few changes to the podcast that I want to talk about, and I guess with that, since I almost gave it away anyway. I am joined by Jesse Drew, who was on our episode about Nightmare on Elm Street. And because we got such a great response and because we were both kind of commended for our chemistry, going forward, Jesse is actually going to be a permanent co-host with me. So it's going to be Jesse and I that kind of steer the ship going forward. So Jesse, thank you for joining me.
Hey guys, hey Jeff, thank you so much for having me. I am honored and happy to be part of the Movies to Be Murdered By podcast.
Yeah, and I'm excited too. I know we've been talking about it back and forth for a little bit now, and I kind of teased it on the last episode, but really excited to have you with me and going on this journey. And I'm excited. So what I want to have you do now is kind of tell people some of the changes that we're going to be making to the podcast and some things that they can be expecting over the next couple weeks.
Well, definitely one of the things that people can look forward to is more of a presence on social media. We're going to be looking pretty sharp. We'll be on Instagram up and running soon. We'll still be on Twitter as we are now. Also, we want you guys to, send us your feedback. Let us know if there are certain movies you'd like us to cover or just things you want to chat about movies in general. So we will be monitoring our email, which is moviestobemurderedby@gmail.com, much more frequently. And in terms of the cast, we're just going to be, riffing back and forth. So I'm just looking forward to, hearing from you guys and also just, chatting with you, Jeff. Really, that's that's what I've done.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it, and I know that we haven't been as active on social media as I would have liked, especially given everything that's going on right now. But that was another reason why I felt it was imperative to bring on a co-host, and I didn't just want to bring on anyone. I really enjoyed the conversation that Jesse and I had.
Same here. I just couldn't ask for a better slot, honestly. This is nice to be part of this program where we're just.
So, what'd you say?
I was saying, I just couldn't be happier to be part of this podcast, specifically where we get to chew on all the things, raw and bloody about the movies, horror movies that we love.
That's right.
And this is a journey, for us, and and we are happy to have all of you guys that are listening, coming along with us, seasoned horror fans and newbies alike. We're, everyone's welcome.
Absolutely right. We want to make sure that this is as interactive as possible. And, that's been the goal from day one, is to make this very interactive. So we're excited. We really are excited about all of it. And what do you say, Jesse? You want to get started on this week's episode?
Let's do this.
All right. So what we're going to do today, kind of a follow-up to the episode from last week, but we're going to give some movies on streaming platforms right now, because we know that everyone is either stuck at home or you're kind of limited to what you're doing outside of your home anyway. So, this is all crazy for all of us. And, if we're going to be stuck indoors, let's try to do the best that we can and not focus on all the negatives out in the world. Let's try to enjoy some movies while we're at home. At least that's my thought process about it. I'm going to give you the floor here, Jesse, and just get your thoughts on everything that's going on and how folks can kind of take their minds off of all of the outside noise from the world.
Well, I mean, definitely preach to what you just said. Preach, because everyone needs some distraction right now. And frankly, even when there's not a global pandemic happening, in my opinion, movies, books, and music are always the places to go to when you need a release, when you want to escape, or when you want to engage. I don't think movies are just meant as an escape. Personally, I find I engage with life by watching movies. Maybe some people out there do too. And right now, things are pretty surreal. They're surreal. I know I caught myself just the other day. I had to go to the supermarket because that's, life continues. You have to get supplies. And I walk in there half expecting to see, like a scene out of a zombie apocalypse, or just like how things would normally be. And it's actually, it's frightening. And then it's not frightening because you walk in and everything's just buzzing along as normal. But, I don't know, I'm wearing, my face mask and wiping everything down as much as possible. And I'm just going about my shopping. And, a few times I just felt like paralyzed in the middle of the aisle, feeling like, oh my gosh, like what's happening? What is going on? Like, I think I might need someone to come get me, because I just felt so surreal that it felt so strange. And that's kind of the sense that I've been hearing from other people as well, where it's like these waves of not panic, but almost just like, am I dreaming? Is this really happening? Which I think is sort of like the death syndrome, like when someone passes
Yeah.
and things seem really weird because everything looks normal, but nothing's really normal at all. So movies are a good place to go. Obviously in your house, please.
Yeah, in your house. Don't do
go
it
out.
outside.
Don't go
Yeah.
outside. I think most of the movie chains are closed right now anyway, but if they're
Yeah.
not, don't go.
Yeah. Just don't do
So
it to yourself.
just don't do it to other people. So here at our house, we have been watching movies. My son and I, 'cause my husband's still working, so my son and I have been watching a lot more movies. And I'm not able, because he's home, all the time now because school's closed. I'm not able to watch as many of like my, grown-ups movies that I'd like to, but I've been saving them for nighttime after he goes to sleep to watch on my iPad or on my phone.
Right.
And just jamming out to music, reading a lot. So today's episode, we, like Jeff mentioned, we're gonna talk about what movies you can find streaming at home on free apps and not free apps. So, hopefully a few of our recommendations will smack center with some of you. And you can find out about some good movies that maybe you haven't heard of before. Maybe you have, and it's just, reinforcing what you already know.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so we've got between Jeff and I, we've got you covered. So I think, Jeff, we can start. We can just go down our lists.
Okay.
Do you want
Well,
to start?
let's start with Tubi. I don't know if many people have heard of it. If you haven't, my goodness, go download it today. Because from shows to movies, not just horror movies, but every kind of movie. And it's free. It's a free app.
Free. We like free.
We like free. We like free. So Tubi is a great app for you to find some, some newer movies, but also some of those older classics. And for me, one of my favorite film franchises is Sleepaway Camp. And, I was just kind of scrolling around on Tubi one day, and I saw that not only was the first film on there from Sleepaway Camp, but 2 and 3 are both on there. So if you're a Sleepaway Camp fan, or if you've never seen Sleepaway Camp, this is a really good opportunity for you to go and check that series out. The fourth one isn't on there. I'm pretty sure that one is on Amazon Prime. You may have to pay for it. I already bought it, so that's just because I'm a big fan of the series. But yeah, Sleepaway Camp 1 through 3 is on Tubi, and I actually had a Sleepaway Camp marathon last week, just to watch all the films. So, Jesse, what about you? What are some films on some of the other free apps that you have selected?
Well, I'm actually going to bump her up right next to you on Tubi. For Tubi, my choices I have two choices. Excellent movies. Both kind of definitely outside of the horror genre. We decided for this episode we'd kind of, mostly stick within horror, but if we had a few outside of horror, hey, what the heck. So my choices for Tubi are 1997's Good Burger, put out by Nickelodeon Studios, starring the wonderful Kenan and Kel. Kenan and Kel, we miss you. Do another pairing soon. We love you.
Yes. I love that show. I love their show.
Yeah, their show is great. So we have watched that movie with my son now, I think 3 times. And it's funny. It's funny if you want a real shot in the arm of the late 90s. Definitely throw Good Burger on. My next choice for Tubi is 1987's Flowers in the Attic, starring Louise Fletcher as the terrifying grandmother and Christy Swanson as the wonderful, lovely protagonist. I know they did a remake. Lifetime did a remake recently starring Heather Graham and a bunch of other people that personally I thought I watched some of it and I couldn't continue watching. It has none of the gothic beauty of the original, the 1987. And yeah, that movie is pretty scary. It's kind of more like sad scary, but it's pretty scary. Those are my picks for Tubi.
Awesome. So what other, I know you have some other apps other than me. So what are some of the other lesser known apps that are not your paid subscription apps that you have that you'd like to cover?
Well, there's Hoopla. That's HOOPLA, and that's available to everyone for free. You just need a library card, or if you don't have your own, borrow somebody's library card number and get yourself signed into Hoopla. You can borrow, it's all electronic. You can borrow books, audiobooks, movies, and music, and they actually have a decent selection. So for Hoopla, I chose RiffTrax, which is all the main guys from Mystery Science Theater 3000, which I love. RiffTrax, it's them just under a different name, and they don't do with the robots and the whole program. It's just them talking over a movie, making fun of it, just the same as they did with Mystery Science Theater.
Okay.
So it's them doing Cool as Ice, 1991's movie starring the one and only Robbie Van Winkle, aka Vanilla Ice.
Yes.
And it is wonderful. I mean, there are a lot of laugh out loud moments. Another another big dose of the 90s. And darn it, I just love some Vanilla Ice in this movie. I remember seeing it when it came out, like not in the theater, but at home, and thinking this movie is actually, I don't know, I was what, like a 12-year-old, maybe 11, 12, thinking this movie is actually really beautiful looking in terms of the cinematography, and my older sister agreeing with me, saying, yeah, this movie has some really good shots in it, actually. So the guys make it hysterically funny, and you're watching 90s, and you're hearing all the wonderful, awful music in the background. So the other movie I would recommend on Hoopla right now is not horror. It's Desperately Seeking Susan, 1985's movie directed by Susan Seidelman, starring Madonna in her first starring movie role, I believe, and Rosanna Arquette. They are, I'm not even going to talk plot. It's New York City in the early 80s. It's Madonna, in all of her fabulousness. Definitely give it a shot. It's a wonderful movie. It's a lot of fun, and it will definitely take you out of the current times that we are in.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So I guess what I can we'll cover Hulu next. I'll cover Hulu.
Yeah, because I didn't do any for Hulu, so you go.
Okay, yeah, let's do Hulu.
Let's do it.
Pet Cemetery, the new Pet Cemetery that came out in 2019 is on there, and that was a pleasant surprise for me as I was looking through Hulu. I think it was last week, and I really like Hulu's selection of horror films. If you notice, I'm probably gonna stick more to the horror stuff because sometimes I feel weird in saying this, but I think that's like just about all I watch and except for some TV shows, I feel like all I watch are horror movies. So I apologize.
No,
But
don't apologize. Don't apologize. I love that.
but the new Pet Cemetery is awesome. I feel like, well, if you have a chance, just go watch it if you haven't seen it, and if you have, just go rewatch it. But it's definitely, I really enjoyed it. The feel of it, there were some sad moments in it, and then it's filled with a lot of creepy moments, and yeah, and the ending, oh my goodness. But yeah, go check that out. And then for another film on Hulu that is probably not as well known, because it's a Hulu original, is Little Monsters, and this isn't the original Little Monsters, and I think Howie Mandel was in that one.
Yeah.
But this is Little Monsters starring Lupita Nyong'o, and it has several other well-known names in there. I won't give it away just because of how the story unfolds, but it's basically a zombie movie with little kids trying to navigate through a zombie apocalypse. And there are some laugh out loud moments in this film. I thought Lupita did an excellent job, as she always does in everything she's in. So yeah, check that one out too, because it's got enough of the horror elements in there where it satisfies that from a horror movie perspective, but it has enough comedy in there that it really lightens the mood. So so yeah, that's my Hulu list. What do you have, Jesse? What's your next?
My next recommend is on Canopy, which is another free app, and that's Canopy, Kanopy, for anybody who wants to look it up and download it. I actually caught it's not horror, but it was sinister. It was, there were a lot of creepy moments, but it was more of just like a sinister undertone. It's called Barracuda, and it was a 2017 movie. It's about, and I'm not giving anything away because it's in the plot and it happens right away, but a woman is confronted by another woman who claims to be her sister, her half sister. Takes place in Texas, which I love. I lived there for a little while. I've got big love for Texas. And, there's all kinds of, like, you're not sure what's going to happen next. Because we don't really know any of the characters, we're just thrust into this, plot. We don't know who's doing what, if it's real, if what's not real. The motivations, the lack of knowledge about the motivations on the part of the characters is sort of the driving point. And I think it's definitely worth a watch. I didn't hear any noise about this movie. I just came across it and thought that the description sounded pretty interesting. The photograph that accompanied it also looked like well shot. So yeah, Barracuda on Canopy. My next pick would be from the Criterion Channel app, which is a paid app, but you can get, I believe it's a 7-day free trial. So do that. And then if you're not up for, continuing to pay for it, you have time to just ditch it afterwards and just watch your fill. In the meantime, I just watched a movie called Near Dark, 1987, directed by the one and only Catherine Bigelow. It is a mashup of genres. It is a horror, Western, vampire, 80s movie with an action feel to it, as one would expect from Catherine Bigelow. Lots of memorable scenes. It's really like a journey. It's not a choppy, quick fix of your, action and violence, although there is plenty of that as well. It's sort of like a journey. Yeah. And it's poetic, and there's also a sense of, Karen Kusama, the director, did an introduction to it on the Criterion Channel, and she referenced that while it has all of these, different elements going for it, it also has this element of like this feel that like kids at malls in the 80s wanted to see this movie, and you get that sense when you're watching it too. So I think it's accessible to a lot of people. So yeah, that's Near Dark by Catherine Bigelow on the Criterion Channel app.
I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds
It's
very interesting.
it's good. It's good. And it's like an hour and 34 minutes. So you're not in and like you're in and out of there, but it definitely feels like you had a nice little walk with that movie.
Okay, that's awesome. That is awesome. So I guess we'll go to Netflix next.
Yep.
Um, I think I've spoken about this movie before, but 13 Sins is such it's a wild ride. That's how I'll categorize it. It is a very wild ride, and it's one of those movies that uh, makes you ask yourself a question. What would I do if I were presented with the opportunity to make a lot of money to do all of these kind of weird and outlandish things? Like, would I keep going, or would I stop, or would I never even get started? Uh, the film, I don't want to give any of it away, but let's just say that the opening of the film kind of sets the tone for the rest of it. And yeah, it's one of those that, if you are a fan of, I guess, gore and some outlandish things in horror movies, you'll probably really appreciate it. There's a scene in the movie where I think it was the collection in the club scene, where there's like a ton of people that end up getting killed and they meet their demise. There's a scene that's very similar to that, that involves motorcycles. And I'll just leave it at that, because that scene is pretty crazy, and a little bit bloody, and I'll leave it at that. But yeah, 13 Sins. And then honorable mention on Netflix for me was Sinister 2. Sinister, the first one, creeped me out. One of the few movies that kind of made me do a double take and made me think like, wow, that was pretty creepy. But Sinister 2 is also on Netflix. So if you've seen the first one, haven't seen the second one, go check that out for sure. What about you, Jesse?
For Netflix, I chose the classic Wicker Man, Wicker Man, 1973. I loved this movie. I only saw this movie very recently. And I was prompted because I heard a clip from the movie. I believe it's Christopher Lee's character says, "It's time you kept your appointment with the Wicker Man." And the way that it was said when I heard the clip was just so, I don't know, it's just so like formal. And I'm like, what is this movie where it sounds like someone's like being like strict but formal and elegant? I need to like look at it. And also because I had been reading a lot about Midsummer, and they just, one of the articles I read online somewhere referenced, this whole like spooky aesthetic that Midsummer had, and how it like, it's original in the way that it's done, but it's not original in terms of, cinematic history. As always, people borrow things from the past, and it referenced the Wicker Man. And so I wanted to watch it. I watched it. I loved it. I wasn't loving it entirely while I was watching it. Honestly, like, I'm not a prude, but a little bit more like, nudity and just freewheeling sex right there in front of the camera than I really needed, just my taste. Certainly some movies, it makes sense. This one, it makes sense for the plot, but I just was like, meh, take that or leave that. I'd rather have a little bit more of the creepiness, a little more story with, anyway. We'll just skip past that. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I thought Christopher Lee was amazing. I thought everyone in it was darn good. The visuals were beautiful, definitely capture the time and the place of the movie and hold up, and you definitely see the, it's when you watch this, you reflect back on lots of movies that the Wicker Man has definitely inspired. I watched a bunch of clips of the Nicolas Cage version of the Wicker Man on YouTube, and I'm not going to even go there. So I love Nicolas Cage and all of his cagey craziness, but I just can't. So I'm going to stick with just watching this one, and I probably am going to revisit Midsummer soon.
Have you watched Midsummer?
Oh yeah, I watched it sometime last year, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I had avoided it for a while because I thought I was going to be too freaked out by it, and I wasn't. I thought it was a really interesting meditation on trauma, to be honest. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm giving anything away, so spoiler alert if you haven't seen Midsummer, but like, I don't know. I was rooting for Danny and for Pele. I like that Pele loved her. So, and a friend of mine, my friend Peggy, she is known as Cinepeg, and we'll talk about that later. But she's also a horror movie fanatic that we totally have to chat with sometime soon on here, because she knows her stuff and she's great. She was the one who pointed out to me before I had seen the movie. Sorry, we're going on a tangent about Midsummer, but it's just so interesting. She said how that scene where Danny is having a real panic attack, like an extreme panic attack, and all of the women in the commune are there with her, like sort of like mirroring her panic attack and just supporting her through it, and like really just kind of holding her up while she while she gets through it until it's done and over with, and how beautiful that was to her, as that's something that we do not do in our society, you know. And that made me really curious to see the movie. So, and then that curiosity after seeing that and reading about it led me to The Wicker Man, which is on Netflix currently. So yep, that's my recommendation for Netflix.
Awesome. So I guess we'll move to Amazon Prime,
Yep.
and Midsummer is on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
So there you go. There's a segue right there. Definitely check that out. What I'll say about it is this: I avoided it for a while too, because um, I don't know if you've seen the movie Mother,
No,
but
I've
I
avoided that
think
one.
okay, but I think the same person that directed Mother did Midsummer,
Oh no,
and
different
different.
person.
Okay, okay,
Different person, but same type of reaction to
yes,
both. Yeah.
same feel for sure.
Yep.
In terms of the just awkwardness, I think in some areas it's kind of it's just a different vibe. And so I avoided it because I watched Mother and I said, okay, if I don't watch another movie like this for a while, I'll be okay. Because it kind of stood out to me that much and left that much of an imprint. But you know, when I saw it come on Amazon Prime, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance. The cinematography in it is just gorgeous. I mean, the landscape, the everything is just beautiful in it. Um and then you start getting into some of the scenes that are a little disturbing, but I thought overall it was a great movie. And again, you know, it really has that underlying, you have your main plot and then you have the underlying theme of going through trauma and, you know, and all those different things. So I really recommend Midsummer to anyone who hasn't seen it. I'd also like to throw out two more movies. The Cabin in the Woods. I know a lot of people have seen it. Um, Jesse and I were talking a little bit before we started recording about it. And, you know, honestly, it's a movie that has, you're either really in on it and you're like, man, that was a really good movie. And it was kind of a throwback in ways and kind of mixing the 80s stuff with today. And some people hate it because of the ending, but I'm one of those people that absolutely loved it. I thought it was a unique twist on the genre, and you know the twist that was presented in the movie I really enjoyed. Uh, Amityville Horror 2005 I thought was really good, um, and that's on Amazon Prime Video. So check that out. I you know, admittedly, I had never seen any of the older Amityville movies before watching the one in 2005. So when I watched that one, it prompted me to go back and watch the older Amityville movies. So really enjoyed um, watching the one in 2005. It creeped me out too. So and then the older ones got me too. So yeah,
Were
definitely those.
you were able to get through the original? Because I couldn't get through that. I gave it a shot recently because I read the
Yeah.
book. I read the book last year, and so recently, I don't know, a couple months ago, I was starting this. I'm like, you know, let me finally get into watching the original Amityville Horror,
Hmm.
especially being as we live not too far. We probably live like an hour or an hour and a half away from like the actual house.
Okay.
And I was like, all right, let me, you know, let me watch. I think I watched maybe the first like half an hour, and I was
Yeah.
like, if that, I was like, oh, done, and turn it off.
Yep.
and I, you know, I've got a pretty thick skin for horror movies. I just really, that one freaked me the hell out.
Yes. like I said, very few movies get under my skin in that way.
Uh-huh.
It definitely did. Um, and to be honest with you, had I not been dared to watch it, um, and asked and asked to give my synopsis and what I thought about it, I probably wouldn't have finished it. Um, but I did because I didn't want to seem like I couldn't make it through it,
Nice.
because I pride myself on being this horror movie guy, and it's like, I there were a couple parts so I was like, I don't know if I can make it through this or not. Like I don't know that I can finish this one, but I did, and I watched a couple of the sequels, and but yeah, it was a terrifying film.
Yeah, Margot Kidder, who's in the Amityville, the original,
Hmm.
she's no joke. I mean, I know we all know her and love her as Lois Lane from the Superman movies of the '80s,
Right.
but like she was in like that terrifying movie. She was in Black Christmas, which was another terrifying movie.
Yeah.
She's got her horror chops. I'm sure she's in a lot of other movies that I'm not even remembering right now, but she's got some horror chops. Rest in peace. She gets a clap, a clap and a half.
Yeah, yeah, it was a terrifying film. Very,
Nice.
very much so.
And the 2005 edition, like, version holds up to it, you think? Because I haven't seen that one.
I think Ryan Reynolds is in it. And I feel like he does a really good job. You see that you see his character devolve, kind of like you do in the original, and
Right.
it's just it's creepy, and I felt like he did a really good job in that, and yeah, I feel like it holds up. I mean, I think obviously some people are the historians and tried and true to the
Right.
original, but I felt like the 2005 remake was really well done.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna give that one a shot. Maybe I can handle Ryan Reynolds more so than James Brolin.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I can say is that there are a couple times where, unlike the original, because it's Ryan Reynolds, you get comedy, some comedy, but it's still pretty creepy.
Well, that's good though, because sometimes, like, especially in a movie like that, you need some comic relief,
Yes, yes,
and even just seeing his little face, like, like
yeah,
make you giggle, So,
yeah,
all right, cool, cool. Oh,
well,
should I give my
yeah.
Amazon
Your
recommend?
Amazon Prime.
My Amazon Prime, that's the big Titan, right? So there's a million movies Jeff and I could have chosen, and these are just a few. We're not saying these are the best or the anything. We're just putting out a few for you to enjoy. Uh, my choice for Amazon Prime was Chud, 1984's movie starring
Yes.
John Hurd and Daniel Stern and a million other people. Um, it's a fun movie. Um, Again, you see the city, in the early 80s. Um, what's not to love about Chud? So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah.
You guys all know. You guys have probably all seen it. And, just throwing it out there for another. As maybe you've noticed, I have a thing for 80s movies. So another 80s movie for you guys, another recommend.
Yeah. Chud is awesome. It's awesome, and it's so 80s.
Yeah, exactly. It's so 80s, and I love, the 80s weren't necessarily a better time. The 80s were filled with their own problems. We had our own, own problematic politics, politicians,
Yes.
crises, diseases, all kinds of things happening. But as a child of the 80s, I tend to look at that decade through rose-colored glasses because when you're little, that's, if you're fortunate enough, that's how you look at life. So, um, often and going forward, you guys will probably notice that I tend to recommend movies from the 80s a lot. So, um, well, Jeff, I have one more recommend from a streaming site. It's a paid site. and it's out of the horror genre, but I had to bring it up because it's so good. If any of you subscribe to the DC Universe app, I recommend, highly recommend. It might be the top recommend. The Harley Quinn cartoon, the show. It is so funny, you guys. It's clever. It's funny. The graphics, the animation is good. It's not too much of one thing or another. It's got a blend of spices. The actors who do the voices are fantastic. You have Harley, you have Poison Ivy, you have Joker, you have Batman, you have Commissioner Gordon, you have her henchmen. They're all, it's so clever. It's in the vein of, like, sort of I want to say, I don't know, just all the clever cartoons that you could think of. I mean, it's like an Adult Swim type funny. And yeah, you guys, if I don't know, sorry, I can't report if they give you a free trial. I'm sure they do. Most of these services do. If they do, please go do the free trial and binge watch season 1 of Harley Quinn. The second season, for any of you who are subscribed to it, is coming out in April, which can't get here fast enough, in my opinion.
Yes.
For many reasons, including Harley Quinn. So yeah, it's good tandem to the comics. I'm a big Harley Quinn fan. A side note, I think Birds of Prey was a fun movie. If you want to look that up, I know they let it out for early release, on the streaming services because of the coronavirus issue right now. So yeah, check out Birds of Prey, but definitely, if you can only do one, go watch Harley Quinn. It'll just make you laugh, and it'll take you away from all of the craziness of right now. And that's on the DCU streaming app.
Awesome. And we have another one that you recommended to me that I think I may actually watch this weekend with all the coronavirus stuff going on. The Invisible Man is actually on Amazon Prime, Amazon Video right now to rent. So I think I'm going to watch that this weekend because you spoke so highly of it.
Yay! Definitely. Good choice. Good choice, my man. Yeah. Definitely Blumhouse represent.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing some great stuff. So I'm really
They're awesome. They're trying to I mean, I think a lot of the movie studios that are putting out their movies, early release on streaming are doing a good thing. I definitely applaud them for that. I think that they should not be charging $20
agreed
to rent. I mean, I think, cool, $20 to buy. If you want to keep it theater prices, though, I mean, just to like keep it fair, make it $12, make it $14. Don't make it $20 for people right now. But that being said, as a huge movie fan, I do have to applaud them for putting things out like The Invisible Man out early. And I also applaud you, Jeff, for giving it a shot, because it is a great movie and you will be happy you did.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I think I'm going to check it out this weekend because Saturdays sometimes, especially with all of this stuff going on, have been kind of difficult. So to give myself a good distraction and to watch a really good movie, I'm going to check it out Saturday.
Nice. If you want to follow that up, if you like it and you want to follow it up with like a predecessor movie, may I recommend to you, believe it's 1991. Would have to double check that though. Sleeping with the Enemy, Julia Roberts.
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, the grandmother to The Invisible Man. Definitely. So all of you, if you haven't seen the 90s movie called Sleeping with the Enemy starring Julia Roberts, if you liked The Invisible Man, then go give that one a watch, because it is similar in tone, and it is even similar in terms of the visuals. So that's just a little aside, a little tip from your pal Jesse.
Okay. I may go back and watch that one again just because you said it. I hadn't seen it in a while.
Nice. Yeah, I think I want to watch it now too. So Jeff, I have a little roll call of honorable mentions.
Okay.
Movies that, we are not going to, Jeff and I are not going to get into, discussing each one like we have. Wait a minute. Are you done with your list? I'm sorry, I might have cut you off.
Yeah, no, I'm done with my list. I'm
Okay.
done with it. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'm good with mine too. But I did put together a list of movies for 2 of the free apps, Tubi and Hoopla, honorable mentions that I want you guys to know that are available to watch for free. As I think that, people who would be listening to our podcast would probably be interested to know, like, hey, I can watch that for free. Cool. So here we go. For Tubi, we have Vamps, which is 2012's movie directed by Amy Heckerling. She pairs back up. She gets back together with Alicia Silverstone. The 2 of them work together on the movie Clueless, which, little movie that a few people knew about.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. So that's a movie, Vamps, and it's that's, again, these are free movies. They're on this roll call I'm going to do is on Tubi. The next one is 1987's The Stepfather. Then we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. We have 1993's The Crush, also starring a very young Alicia Silverstone. We have Ginger Snaps, Basket Case, 1982's the first one. 1986's Chopping Mall. Nightbreed, the director's cut, which is the one that you want to watch. Yeah, directed by Clive Barker in 1990. And then this movie I haven't seen, but it's going to have to get watched. It's called Blood Runners from 2017, starring Ice-T.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it looks amazing. And by amazing, I mean not really that good, but it's got Ice-T in it, so it has to be watched.
So instead of it being a B movie, this is probably more like a C or a D, but it's got Ice-T in it, so we got to watch it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That we both need to watch that soon, and then that may be a future episode. I'm not sure. So for Hoopla, there's The Bling Ring, 2013 movie directed by Sofia Coppola based on true events. Take This Waltz, 2012's movie directed by Sarah Polley. Excellent movie. Can't recommend it enough. Not a horror movie, but amazing performance by Michelle Williams, Seth Rogen, and Luke Kirby. And, oh God, why am I forgetting her name? Sarah Silverman. Excellent movie. Recommend it to anybody. Daniel Isn't Real, the movie made in 2019, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. I think his name is Patrick Schwarzenegger. He's really good in it, and that movie was a surprise. It's a good movie, horror movie, definitely worth checking out. Satanic Panic, directed by Chelsea Stardust. Haven't watched, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. And A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night from 2014, directed by Anna Lily Amirpour. So those are just honorable mentions, movies that you guys might want to check out, besides the ones that we've recommended today.
Awesome. Well, we've given the folks a lot to watch, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Some good distractions. And, I'm going to go watch a few of these myself over the next couple of days.
We have been of service. I think
yes.
I think we've been of service to our fellow horror community members.
I think so. I definitely think so. Well, anything you want to say as we wrap up, Jesse?
I think I'd like to institute a new measure of fandom for a movie. So we do the headstones, right? We give
Yes.
the movie headstones. Like when we talk about a particular film, we wrap up by saying, how many headstones would you give? I would also like to add whether you would get the movie that we talked about, or like for this podcast we talked about so many. I would say, are there any of the movies that we talked about, would you get any of them tattooed on your arm?
Ooh.
I think that could be a good one. Like, yes, this one wins the yes, I would get this tattooed on my arm. I don't want to say
I
I
like
believe
that.
Yeah, so I will kick off. What gave me the idea was because I mentioned for Hoopla, one of my two choices for Hoopla app was Desperately Seeking Susan, directed by Susan Seidelman. And I actually have a huge tattoo of that movie on my right arm. It basically takes up from the very top of my shoulder almost down to my elbow. And if you look up that movie, there's like the iconic picture of the two actresses, Madonna and Rosanna Arquette, standing side by side, and that's exactly what I have tattooed on my arm. So I am going to give that one, for obvious reasons, my yes, I would get it tattooed on me award.
That is awesome.
Yeah. What about you? Of all the movies we talked about today, which one, if any, would you get a tattoo of?
It's a great question. And because it's one of my favorites, I believe that I would do that with Sleepaway Camp.
Yes, that's awesome.
I'm not sure which scene. There's so many that are iconic. I definitely wouldn't get the ending of the first one tattooed because that would be a huge spoiler for those who haven't watched it. Um, and it will be kind of difficult to explain. But yes, I would definitely get Sleepaway Camp for sure.
Good choice.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. That's gonna be a staple from here on out. Because I really like that idea. Like if you love a movie, let's see how much you love it. That kind of thing. So I love that. Love that.
Yeah, how far will you go to prove your love?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I would definitely do that with Saw, even though we didn't mention it today. I would do that with Saw in a heartbeat.
Nice. But would you do that? Would you get an image of Bevins?
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes, I would get Bevins. I would get Bevins from Would You Rather tattooed on my arm. Or I definitely would. Definitely would. So if you're new to the podcast, we've got to explain this one. So if you're new to the podcast, I did an episode on the movie Would You Rather, and it's currently on Netflix. So there's another movie that if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. And before I did the episode, I talked to Jesse and I said, hey, I think you should check this movie out. And I don't know why Bevins is one of my favorite characters in the movie, but he just is. He's the butler. And I won't say much else of what else he does in the movie because if you've not seen it,
you could say he's got an English accent.
He does,
and that's out of place because there's no need for it. And he's sadistic.
Yes.
So he sounds like very formal and elegant, and he's twisted.
Yes, he's very formal and elegant, but he will eliminate you if necessary.
Eliminate.
Just as a callback to Shep Lambrick, he will eliminate you. So, yeah, that's a movie. I mean, I know, Jesse, you gave me your thoughts on it, when we were chatting, but it just so I don't feel like a complete dope for hyping the movie up as much as I did. Give everybody your thoughts on Would You Rather.
Well, I was glad to watch it because it's definitely not a movie I would have chosen to watch just, right off the screen. It's it's like a fun movie to walk through. It's tense, but it's fun. But the stakes aren't so high that you really feel like this is unbearable or it's too much. So there's that. And the acting it's uneven. Like some people are better actors than others. Speaking of John Hurt is in Would You Rather.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so he's an excellent actor. He was, rest in peace. So it's like a good it's a good afternoon movie. I'd put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people probably won't like it, which is fine. I mean, it's just one of those movies for me. I don't know why. For me, it's as good as it is, but I sometimes just catch myself saying, I need to find something to watch, and I just end up watching Would You Rather again.
That's so funny. It's like, I need something to watch. Would You Rather again?
Would You Rather again? Yeah, I watched it again yesterday. I have no idea. Yes, I watched it yesterday. I have no.
Jeff.
I know. I have to find other movies.
We just listed like 200 movies to watch.
I know, and I keep watching the same one every day. Like,
oh my! I think we're siblings from different parents. I swear, because I do the same exact thing.
I mean, it's laughable. I mean, I was sitting there watching like different shows. I have my TV shows that I like to watch, and then I said, I really want to watch a movie. And then I'm thinking about it, there's all these movies out there and all of these apps that I have on my Roku. And for some reason, I go right back to Netflix and I go right back to Would You Rather. And there I am quoting every single line and, acting like somebody's actually going to do something to Julian this time other than what happens. Right. Hoping that someone smartens up and does something to Shep. Yeah.
Nope.
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 Not at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's a fun movie.
It is a fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. Have you seen the movie Ready or Not?
No. Is it kind of like that?
Yes. It takes like the old game of Ready or Not. And yeah, I'll say this though, it's a heck of a lot more violent than Would You Rather.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about Would You Rather I was okay with, because it had violence, obviously, but like I said, the stakes weren't high. It wasn't so outlandish. The movie wasn't trying to outdo any other movie.
Right.
It was just kind of like keeping up, it was just trying to keep the pace with like the other horses in the same race of like, right. Of basically sadistic stuff. So.
Yep.
But that was okay. You know what I mean? More so than that, I don't know. It's just not my scene,
Yeah. Ready or Not was pretty darn violent. I mean, it was, it was, oh my gosh, it was violent. Yeah.
Oh, in this vein, have you seen the movie? It's another Ice-T movie, and Surviving the Game. Have you seen that one?
I have, yes.
Yes. For everybody out there, Surviving the Game. It's sort of another one of these types of movies. Now, I'm the name, like this subgenre of movies of like human survival. Where people are hunting people, which is kind of apt that we talk about it because of that movie The Hunt, which is now streaming. It's another horror movie that was supposed to be out in the theaters, and I think it's streaming. I think it's out streaming now.
Is it really?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna check this while we're on the line here. You keep talking. I'm gonna check it.
Yeah, so Surviving the Game is a descendant. It's sort of like a remake, a modern remake of this, I want to say 1930s movie called The Most Dangerous Game. And it's a book where um, it's basically humans hunting other humans for sport. But the Surviving the Game is, I believe it's in the 90s. And it's Ice-T, it's Gary Busey pre-accident.
Hmm.
It's Charles Dutton. Um, it's F. Murray Abraham.
Yes.
It's the kid who plays Copycat in the movie Copycat. I don't know what his name is. I think it's like Pete or something, or maybe I'm just thinking of the character. But like, um, Rutger Hauer. It's just a little.
It's
It's a
it's like a who's
festival.
who. It's like a
Yeah,
who's
it's a
who of.
festival. And when you get like F. Murray Abraham in there, and all of a sudden an Ice-T, it was just I was in. I was like,
Yeah.
yes, a
All
soul.
right. I
Is the hunt on streaming?
it is.
Cool, because I want to see
So
it. I don't know if I want to
so
pay
here,
$20 though.
yeah, I don't want to pay. Here are the movies right now that are streaming on Amazon that are the ones that should be in the movie theaters. But Onward, which is a Disney Pixar movie.
Hmm.
Birds of Prey, like you said earlier. The Invisible Man, like we talked about. Emma,
Oh right, right.
yeah, Jane Austen's Emma. Bloodshot with Vin Diesel. The Hunt, which I am going to watch.
Hmm.
And The Way Back with Ben Affleck.
All right. That looked appropriately sad.
Yes,
Yeah, it's like no thanks.
yeah, no thanks.
I'm happy
Um,
for him that he got to make that movie, but nope,
yeah,
not right now.
not right now. Can't take that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing I hate about this is the fact that it's $20 and you don't get to own it. It'd be one thing if it was $20 and you're buying it, but that's the
Yeah.
only drawback. So I'm gonna have to be very selective with which one I watch. But I think I'm gonna start with The Invisible Man.
Yes, that one you'll feel like, okay, it was worth the 20.
Yeah,
But I agree with you, and I'm thinking along the same lines. Like, I've got to just be very choosy. I think we all have to be choosy. I guess just the same as when we go to the theater, right? Unless you have like a subscription.
yeah.
So like right now, I am missing my Alamo. I have an Alamo near my house. Like it's about 10 minutes away,
Hmm.
and and I have the subscription, so I can see one movie a day if I want to, for free. I pay the monthly price and then go as much as I want during the month. And am I missing that right now? Because I definitely go to the movies, weekly. Um, Oftentimes I go many times during the week. So, um, but yes, this time will pass. I guess people have been saying it
Yeah,
kind of feels like the new normal, but
yeah,
yeah. And definitely like, we just from Jeff and I, we just hope we offered anyone listening a nice break from all of the all the craziness and the weirdness out there. And we wish you all lots of good health, lots of safety. Please stay inside. Really trying to flatten that curve, you guys. We do not want this to go on longer than it has to. So everybody stay inside for now and be
yes.
safe and watch lots and lots of horror movies. And hopefully you'll come away from this episode with some new favorites after checking some of these movies out.
That's right. That's right. Well, I guess we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Like I said, we're excited for the next part of this journey, and I'm glad to have Jesse with us. So really pumped up about that. But thank you guys for listening, and we will be back with some more movies to react to and talk about. So until next time, guys, thank you for listening to Movies to Be Murdered By.
Oh, before we go,
Oh, 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 oh.
oh, hold the bus,
Hold on.
I'll post all of our pics up on Instagram and Twitter. So hopefully by the time this episode comes out, You guys can actually scroll through and look at all of our recommendations in print on social media. That's it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Jesse.
Sure.
All right. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys.